we talked about these things, two kinds of deity view, wrong view, namely Uchira deity and Sasara deity. Uchira deity, annihilation view, and Sasara deity, eternity view. Thinking and viewing that this atta, self also, or being, or living entity, dies and cuts off, no more, lives no more. And that's the end of it. This is the kind of view held by materialistic people, or you may say materialistic view. One is not accepting the mentality, just accepting the materiality and not the mentality. And not the mental aspect, only the material aspect. Taking that this mentality or knowing is fully dependent on the materiality. And this mentality cannot exist on its own. It has to depend on the materiality. Only when the materiality exists, mentality also exists. Jiva, self or soul or living entity, depends on this materiality, rupa. And believe in one life only, or this life only, and no more. Such a person is said to hold this annihilistic or annihilism, Avachita deity, the view of annihilism. As for this eternity view, Sasra deity, one believes, or these people believe, in being or jiva, atta, living entity, self or soul, not coming to cessation, not dying at all. It lives on from one life to another. Although the body may perish, this living entity, self or soul, or abiding core, exists and only moves from one whole body to a new one, although the body may perish. So that's the kind of view held by these people who holds the Sasada deity, eternity view. That those people who accepts the supreme power, existence of the supreme power, if one practices in accordance with the will of the supreme power, one can be saved. One can reach salvation. And one's soul will eventually go and live together with the supreme power and experience all the good things there without dying, living there forever, that sort of thing. Now, for some people, they think that this atta, after dying, will eventually combine with the supreme self or soul. The individual self or soul will eventually combine with the supreme self or soul. And then practice this yogi practices, and when they reach their goal, their cherished goal, they are able to combine with the supreme self or soul, and leading to this Sasada deity, eternity view. So if we talk about these two deities, Sasada deity and Uchira deity, the subject will be very wide. Now, as for Uchira deity, if one does not see the new one coming up in this mind-body process, because the new one does not come up, if when one dies, at the end of it, no more, it's just one life and nothing beyond this. That sort of belief is held by these Uchira deity people, annihilationists. Now, for the yogis, during the practice, they know very well that the mind-body rising at the sixth sense doors, the striker element striking, every time striker element striking the base element, there's bound to be this ignition element as a resultant, such as seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, and so on. So there's ever mind-body arising. This will be noticed by the practitioners. The expression Udaya means new one coming up, rising. Genesis. But these things, as they arise, will not be stationary. They don't stay for one moment. They just arise and pass away. And this expression, ubrina ma lekana, that means this vaya, dissolving, arising and dissolving. Udaya is arising and vaya is dissolving. It is the character and nature of dissolving. The whole giving place to the new. Like the flow of a current, which is made up of the same nature, namely water, which appears the same all the time. Actually, it is not the same. The whole giving place to the new. All water, all droplets of water flowing down, and the new droplets of water coming in. So in this way, the old is going away and the new one is coming up. Because it is just one nature, one water, one material, namely water. When one looks at it, you think it is just the same, it is stationary, and there's no change. But in fact, the old giving place to the new, like the electric current, light, the flow of electricity, one electron the old electron giving place to the new electron continuously, giving rise to this energy in the form of light. So, with the practice, one can see the old giving place to the new, not from thoughts or hearsay. And the new object that you note also arises and dissolves, disappears. They are conditioned things. So long as there is cause and condition, they are bound to arise and dissolve. They are not stationary. They are in a state of flux. So, if one sees the dissolving of this whole object, then one will be free from this Savataditi, the eternity view, that things are not all the time there, permanent, they are impermanent, they dissolve. So seeing this object going away, as for the old giving place to the new, as one sees the old dissolving, one becomes free of this Savataditi, eternity view. So it will be more obvious in the course of the practice by the practitioners. When one sees the three parts of the objects noted, mind-body objects noted, the beginning, the middle, and the end. Then, in the beginning, initial stage of insight knowledge, one sees these three parts, and then if we continue to practice, in the course of the practice, as one activates mindfulness and deepen concentration, one sees the old giving place to the new very obviously, very clearly. So as the old dissolves, then one is able to cut off one's own Savataditi, eternity view. And as the new one continues, then one can cut off one's Usitatiti view, annihilation view. Because things are not annihilated, things are not cut off, they arise again, have a new objects coming up. So in this way one will be free from Usitatiti. So only when one comes to this stage, one sees, one understands these two views more clearly. When one sees this fast arising and passing away very clearly, obviously, of the objects noted, that is cultivating the Udiyavya Jnana, that is the momentary nature of experience, seeing the fast arising and passing away of objects noted, knowledge of seeing that. In the earlier insight stage, known as Samasana Jnana, reflective knowledge of the contemplation of rising and passing away through reflection or reflective knowledge. At this stage, one sees the arising and passing away of mind-body. Although this has been included in the Vipassana jnana, insight knowledge, actually, because it is V means a variety of characteristics such as impermanence and so on, so it has been included as Vipassana jnana. But at this stage it is not so obvious. Only at the stage of the later stage of Uddiyavya jnana, the fleeting momentary nature of experience, or the knowledge of the contemplation, or knowledge of the fast arising and passing away of objects, seeing the beginning and the end of the objects noted. For instance, when you note rising, as rising, you see the beginning and the end very clearly. And when you note falling, also you see the beginning and the end. Same thing goes with other objects. It begins, new one begins, and the old one dissolves. So this way you see two parts very clearly, obviously. More obvious than in the earlier stage. At this stage, the rising and passing away is very more obvious. That's why in the text is said that though one sees the rising and passing away of objects noted at the stage of samasana jnana, knowledge of the reflection of rising and passing away, one does not, it has not been given as real Vipassana jnana, the name of Vipassana jnana, not the genuine Vipassana jnana, as yet. Only when one sees the fleeting momentary nature of experience, the fast arising and passing away continuously, then only it is included, or it is called or termed as real insight knowledge, Vipassana jnana. Because one sees very fast arising and passing away, more obviously. This arising and passing away occurs continuously, being born and dying, coming up and going, arising and dissolving, coming and going, seeing that they are unacceptable, dangerous, wearisome, and they are just phenomena rolling on. They're just the things arising at their own will, not at your will. Such phenomena will become obvious, more obvious and clearer. So only this knowledge is only included as called the Vipassana insight knowledge, the real insight knowledge as given in the text. And it is so because at this insight knowledge, all the impediments, such as we call it Vipassana kilesa, impediments to insight, such as illuminations, piti, passaddhi, they all occur at this stage. Again, this Vipassana kilesa, impediments to insight, such as this illuminations, piti, passaddhi, and so on, arise at the beginning of this insight knowledge called Uddiyavya jnana. They are of 10. Now, it has been given in the commentaries on the path of purification, Visuddhimagga, that the kind of people who experience these impediments and those who don't experience these impediments, it is quite noteworthy. To be brief, such impediments to insight, such as illuminations, piti, passaddhi, rapture, tranquility, tend to arise in what is known as arada vipassaka people or persons or yogis. Earlier on, in order to note the objects, beginning with the main object of rising and falling, and every other object, not to miss them, one exerts initial launching energy in order to push or direct one's noting mind to the object. Later, when one encounters difficult situations, especially sluggishness, not wishing to exert energy, slackness, and even if one has exerted energy, one's energy gets exhausted. One gets exhausted. At that stage, one steps up the energy, another higher energy, you might call it. Second stage of energy. So at this stage, this energy, viriya, becomes well grounded. This is the stage at which this person, one is known as arada vipasaka, or one who possesses arada virya, sustained energy or ongoing energy. In the text is given, this is also has another name, called by another name, pegahita virya. Now this pegahita virya means the kind of virya, when you are lifting material, you do so that the material does not go down, nor stagnant, nor stationary, nor stagnant. Instead, it goes up stage by stage. The kind of virya which push things up stage by stage, instead of being stagnant, instead of going down or slackening. One builds up momentum in this virya. This is arada virya, and the one who possesses such ongoing or sustained energy is known as arada vipasaka. You just look at this situation. You are lifting this material, uplifting virya, so as not to go down nor being stagnant. At this stage, the energy becomes very consistent, and you don't have to exert special energy at this stage, because energy is already exerted, ongoing, sustained, and the noting mind is consistent with the object, or the energy is consistent enough to direct your noting mind to the object. To be at this stage, one is free from impurities, beginning with the impurity of kamicchanda, sense desire, hindrances. By not accepting them, they are said to be overcome with the application, with the exertion of energy. When these impurities enter your stream of consciousness, your mind becomes impure, and will not shine. Now you become free of rid yourself of these impurities. You are free of them. So with one moment of mindfulness, one moment of exertion of this energy, sustained energy, you are free for one moment. You shine for one moment. And when 1 minute, 60 times, 5 minutes, 300 times, and so on. And when 1 hour, just imagine, with the application of this sustained energy, how much freedom of impurities will you achieve in the practice. So at this stage, one experiences the fast arising and passing away of objects, or the fleeting momentary nature of experience. And yogis who reach that stage experiences these impediments to insight, such as illuminations, piti, passaddhi, and so on. This arada vipasaka, the one who possesses sustained energy or ongoing energy. This energy occurs not only in monks, but also in men, women, whoever practices meditation. As much as it occurred previously, it has occurred in the past, it is also occurring now. At this stage, at the stage of this Uriya Jnana, A monk also can become Arahata Vipassaka. Man, woman also can become Arahata Vipassaka, the one who possesses sustained or ongoing energy. Now this has been qualified in two ways. One is Samapatipanaka Yuta Payuta. That means that when one is noting every arising object in the body as they impinge your six sense doors, not reflecting or not thinking about the past, which is just a memory, or not anticipating the future, which has not yet come, but be always present with the moment. As the saying goes, strike while the iron is hot, while the objects are hot and fresh. You just note them. So you exert energy to note them, to note in this way to sustain your energy and sustain your mindfulness, leading to Khanika Samadhi, momentary concentration, and eventually insight. That is one who practices correctly. So correctly means applying initial launching energy, yuta, that is given by this expression yuta, and applying the stepped up energy to overcome difficulties. This is payuta. In other words, one applies energy continuously and consistently in order to catch or to connect with every arising object, in order to direct your noting mind to the object consistently, always pushing your noting mind to the object to catch that object. This is given by the expression yuta payuta. And samapatipana, together with that, apply the correct practice, one comes to possess this arahata virya, sustained or ongoing energy, otherwise not. Only at this stage, or such a person can experience these illuminations of bhasa and piti, passaddhi and so on. These are which are called impediments to insight. They are bound to arise, and that has been given in the text as such. So with the practice rightly, stepping up this energy, second stage energy, these things, impediments, are bound to arise at the stage of seeing the object, the first arising and passing away of these objects. Arahata Vipassaka. These impediments are bound to arise. And after we have discussed the type of person in whom this impediments to insight occurs, and we come to the kind of person to whom these impediments don't arise. There are four kinds, four individuals, four types of people. The first one is Ariya Savaka, the one who has attained the path and fruit, consciousness. And the second one is who practices wrongly, not rightly. The third one is who is resting or taking a rest or not practicing this meditation. Rest and recreation perhaps. And then the fourth one is Kusita Pogala, sluggish person or slackers. In such persons, these four kinds of persons, these impediments to insight don't arise. People, the first one is given as the highest in the list, namely Ariya Savaka, the noble ones or the attained individuals. These impediments to insight, such as illuminations, piti, passaddhi, don't arise. Because these impediments to insight only occur at the tender stage or lower stage of Uddiyana Jnana. There are two stages, tender stage and mature stage. or higher stage of Uddiyavya Jnana. So, because these impediments occur at the tender stage of Uddiyavya Jnana, it goes without saying that these things do not arise in the matured, ripened stage of Uddiyavya Jnana. Especially at the higher stages, these things don't occur. The second individual type of person is Vipassana Pukkala, the one who practices wrongly or abnormally, not correctly, not knowing the method of practice. One practices with one's own ideas instead of connecting with the presently arising object, while the object is fresh and present, which is Attapechaka, directly experiencing. Leaving that out, one thinks about the past or anticipates the future. Such persons are known as Vipassana Pukkala, one who practices wrongly, not correctly, not being concurrent with the object to be noted. One will not be able to see the nature of this mind-body, such as the discernment of mind-body and the cause-effect process, not to mention the characteristic of arising and passing away. So such persons who do not practice correctly comes under this classification. And the third type of person, individual, in whom these impediments to insight don't occur, is Nikita Kammatthana. Nikita Kammatthana. That means the one who takes rest or leave aside or leaves the meditation practice. After having practiced for 2 weeks, 1 month and so on, without having reached the stage of Uddiyavya Jnana, one takes a rest. And also, even when one practices, one may be practicing at times noting, sometimes not noting, sometimes talking, sometimes resting, sometimes thinking. Then also such people also come under this Nikita Kammatthana, the one who leaves aside this meditation practice. If one does not exert energy in order to note the immediately arising object, be present with the moment, and for one moment of loss of this energy, there will be one moment of rest, leaving aside this meditation practice. And in 1 minute, the 60 moments you are just resting, leaving aside the meditation practice, and for 5 minutes and so on, there are many moments of rest from meditation practice. Such people come under this classification, Nikita Kammatthana. So if one notes every time without missing every second of the practice, able to connect with the object consistently, then such people are not Nikita Kammatthana, they are Anikita Kammatthana. They are the people who do not rest but be consistent with the practice. Not leaving aside this mindfulness practice and always practicing is if one the opposite of that is Nikita Kammatthana, the one who takes rest from meditation practice. In such people, this impediment to insight don't arise. The fourth type of person is Kusita Pukkala, indolent. That's like a person who is not serious in the practice, but doing very lightly and in a relaxed manner, not being consistent, so that one does not cultivate either the concentration or insight. One will not cultivate insight beginning with the discernment of mind-body, because only when one attains this Uriyavya Jnana, one sees or experiences these impediments to insight, such as illumination, spirituality, and so on. When there's no insight, there will be nothing. What will happen? Only one or all of these three kinds of thoughts, immoral thoughts, will arise, such as Kama Vidaka, Jabada Vidaka, Kama Vidaka, thoughts of sensual pleasures, sensuous thought, or thoughts of ill will and thoughts of harm, which leads to suffering. And the Buddha has said this: monks, ekusita pogula, a sluggish person, an indolent, will not exert energy, and even if he or she exerts energy, very soon he or she gets exhausted. And such people will live painfully, with suffering, in all these postures, going, standing, sitting, lying, live with unhappiness, live with suffering. Because one is, such a person is mixed with low, vulgar forms of his unskillful deeds. Because one does not exert energy, because one is sluggish, one is accepting these negative, wishing to pleasure, wishing to experience sensualities, pleasures of senses, wishing to see good things, and crave for better ones. In this way, because the mind is not clear, one suffers. At times, because of dissatisfaction or disappointment, ill will may arise, thoughts of ill will, Jabada Vidaka, which are degrading. So one will be associated with all such things, thoughts of ill will. And then thoughts of harming others, Vihimsa Vidaka. This is the third kind of immoral thought. So one such person will always be associated with one of these immoral thoughts, leading to suffering. Not able to think about practicing this basic moral conduct to purify one's physical behaviors, not think about cultivating one's mind to be pure and to be developed, and not thinking about gaining insight. So one is not associated with the prosperous, good things, such as the Sila Samadhi Pinya, the three trainings of morality, concentration and wisdom, which leads to real prosperity. So, because of this kusita, one suffers. There will be no happiness. So if one does not get this, one cannot practice the three trainings, which leads to prosperity, one always suffers, losing this chance of practicing the three trainings. When one experiences in a unique manner this impediments to insight, then one's bhavana mind, meditative mind, can be affected, one can be moved or somewhat agitated. Seeing the lights, one is moved. One's mind is moved. With the sharp knowledge, previously I wasn't like this. Now my knowledge is very sharp. I see the fleeting momentary nature, fleeting moments, and they're very clear cut. So with this one can be moved. One can have some sort of agitated feeling. And because of this piti, one is satisfied and one's bhavana mind can be moved. This is bound to arise. And also, at this stage, one experiences extraordinary feeling of physical and mental well-being. With that also one becomes moved. One becomes very overwhelmed with gladness and delight. In this way, this affects one's bhavana mind. And sometimes it can even affect one's noting process. Sometimes one may miss noting because one is so much moved by this extraordinary physical and mental well-being, delight, gladness. So, thinking that this, not only do I experience this kind of quality of the practice, it is so wonderful, marvelous, and one instills faith, extraordinary manner, that also can affect one's bhavana mind. At this stage, this Bhagavahita Viriya, the kind of energy which is balanced, and one does not need to exert extra energy at this stage, because energy is sustained, it's ongoing energy, and one can note with ease without having to exert extraordinary energy like before. So that can also affect one's noting mind, bhavana mind. So at this stage, the object, our noting mind, is cemented, so to speak, with the object very extraordinarily, leading to Upatita Sati. That means the kind of mindfulness which is extraordinarily fixed and established, sustained. So whenever you note, the mindfulness is cemented with the object to be noted. So at this stage also, because of this extraordinary experience, one's noting mind, one's bhavana mind also can be affected. And also this kind of balanced feeling, you're just watching the objects arising and passing away. So without any extra energy, also with this can affect your bhavana mind. So in this way, one tends to become unconsciously attached to the practice. This kind of attachment is not like the attachment to the sense pleasures or sensuous objects. It is different. Attachment to the experiences of the practice, seeing the arising and passing away, and one becomes seeing the arising and passing away in a very fast manner. One becomes unconsciously attached to this insight practice. In this way, one's bhavana mind can be moved, can be affected. At this stage, the yogi has to be very careful. At this stage, one experiences in a very extraordinary manner the lightness, levitation of both physical and mental phenomena. Becomes malleable and workable. Workable means that even if one intends to sit for 1 hour, one may be able to sit for more than 1 hour, 1.5 hours, 2 hours, and so on, and also with the walking meditation, without extra effort, not getting tired so easily, and things are going on, in a very consistent manner. This, and also one becomes proficient, both physically and mentally. Because one becomes proficient physically and mentally, because one has exerted energy in the beginning, in the earlier stage. One has built up this momentum of virya. At this stage, yogi will become very straightforward and very easy. One will wish to confess the mistakes that one has committed in the past, either to oneself or to the teachers, meditation teachers. So this is the extra experience, the energy arising in an extraordinary manner in both the body and the mind. At this stage, one experiences what is known as Dhammoja, the spiritual nutriments, As much as one needs nutriments in the body, so also one's mind is said to be energized with these spiritual nutriments, such as in the form of these illuminations, piti, passaddhi, and so on, and good noting in a very easy manner without any difficulty. Such are Dhamma or Dhammoja, Dhamma nutriments. As we have said before, Dhamma uplifts or sustains, helps the Dhamma practitioner. So this Dhamma, Dhammoja, also uplifts the yogis who has practiced in this way to reach the stage. So this oja, nutriments, has entered one's stream of consciousness so that one's mind becomes energized. As much as the body needs nutriments like vitamins and so on, and minerals, in order to energize the body so that the body becomes strengthened as a result of these nutriments, aharaja, rupa, materiality produced by nutriments, or nutriment-produced materialities. So too with the mind, with the spiritual nutriments, one experiences the Dhammoja, spiritual nutriments. And yogi also comes to understand this situation correctly, properly, especially if one sees the fast arising and moving, passing away of these objects, coming to this insight. This kind of panya, wisdom, is known as Dhammoja panya, the wisdom of the spiritual nutriments. And this is not realized from hearsay or from thinking or from thoughts or from teachers, but from your own experience with the practice of Satipatthana, coming to this stage of a mature stage of Udiyaya Jnana, seeing the fast arising and passing away. One's mind is energized in a special manner. At this stage, the fifth and the last element or limb of striving, Padaniyanga, is said to become fulfilled in the yogis, seeing the fast arising and passing away, realizing this Dhammoja panya, wisdom of spiritual nutriments. And if one continues from this stage, one is bound to gain the cherished goal of path consciousness in this very life, to become Ariya. The reason is that at this stage nobody needs to exhort you or prompt you, because you will be self-prompted, because you have seen with your own experience the qualities of the practice, and be able to instill faith and enthusiasm in the practice. At this stage, the health, one of the limbs of striving, is also good and better at this stage than before. So one is said to be fulfilled with one of the 5 limbs of striving, Padaniyanga. And then at this stage one becomes very straightforward. One is open-minded to oneself and to the teachers. And with the Pekaha Viriya, one is able to go along in a very easy way, this application of exertion of energy, seeing the rising and passing away in a fast manner. So with this fulfillment of the 5 elements and limbs of striving, one is bound to, if one continues the practice, one is bound to gain the liberating insight in this very life. Such is the value of life, as is given in the Dhammavada. Better than 100 years in the life of one who does not see the rising and passing away is a day in the life of one who sees the arising and passing away of objects. So if one continues, one is bound to gain this liberating insight. And if you hit the ground, you may miss it, but you won't miss this liberating insight. Time is up. We shall continue tomorrow. We shall continue tomorrow. We shall continue tomorrow. shall continue.